Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Today is explanation of upcoming episode Throne of Seal based on novel. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. So let's start. Seeing that the other demon hunt squads already entered the town, Long Houchin hurried to say, "Let's just enter the town together. When running into danger, we can notify each other through by whistling. This will allow us to mutually defend each other. Take out your equipment." The last words were directed at his companions. Under the dumbstruck stares of the other three demon hunt squads, a magnificent change immediately happened with the 7 of them, who were originally clad in simple attire. With 7 bursts of spiritual energy fluctuations, one after another took out their glorious tier equipment. The one who gave the others the greatest shock was naturally Long Houchin himself. Being clad in the dark golden glorious armor, while carrying the glorious holy shield and blue rain, hibiscus of light, that originally released an intense brilliance, he was simply too imposing. The 3 pieces of glorious tier equipment put on him gave people an incomparable shock, especially after the glorious armor was combined with the glorious holy shield, emanating a faint dark golden gloss covering Houchin's whole body. This was the set bonus that was supplementary when using the armor and shield as a whole. After taking out 4 pieces of equipment of the glorious tier by himself, Long Houchin immediately gave bright discipline to Han Yu. All of the other 6 members of the 21st Demon Hunt Squad, other than Chen Yinga, who hugged McDull and didn't take out any particular equipment, each had at least 1 piece of equipment at the glorious tier. As members of the other newly formed Demon Hunt Squads, seeing the equipment on Long Houchin's group, who out of them wouldn't be totally jealous? Yang Wenjiao swallowed his saliva in envy, while throbbing in pain deep inside, thinking about the great opportunity to gain contribution points they had missed the other day. What a shame, this was really a great shame. Long Houchin also realized how much they stood out, but during the chaotic situation within the southern city's mountain pass, their priority wasn't the number of killed enemies, but the surviving on such a disorderly battlefield. How could he convince his teammates to hold back in such a situation? Let's go to the town. The 4 teams rapidly entered the city, though Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi didn't express their compliance. But at the same time, they still chose to follow Long Houchin's directive, though they didn't look as subordinate as Luke 11. Yang Wenjiao's and Duan Yi's Demon Hunt squads kept their original formation, but Luke Shi's 22nd Demon Hunt squad immediately fused in the 21st Demon Hunt squad's formation. The shield warrior Dian Yang stood in the front, directly positioning himself at Long Houchin's flank, while Li Xin covered his other flank. Luke 11, Bai Xiaomo and Yi Jun naturally took positions in the middle of the formation, since with Li Xin and Dian Yi's addition, their formation became large enough for them to enter. The assassin Han Daoxi stayed in the rear, clearly matching with Han Yu's defense of their backs. Long Houchin was in the front, with Kia on his back again. Originally, Long Houchin had planned on having her be covered with his glorious holy armor, but Kia expressed her fierce refusal. She finally only agreed to have Long Houchin carry her on his back above his armor. Although she had lost 4 of her senses, as the saint daughter of Samsara, she didn't completely lose all fighting capability, especially after the growth of her spiritual stove of Samsara. Thus, Kia calmly attached herself to Long Houchin's back, as if she was totally weightless. Her pair of legs curled around Long Houchin's waist and her hands holding onto his neck. She did her utmost to avoid affecting Long Houchin's movements. Although knights and assassins were a great match on the battlefield, this was the first time other demon hunt squads saw something like that. Nonetheless, who would go questioning them? They had all seen Kia's strength before. If not for her display of power, it was difficult to say whether their demon hunt squad would still have gotten the first place during the team competition. After entering the southern city's mountain pass, Long Houchin unconsciously raised his head, looking at the sky. At this time, a marvelous scene appeared. Elegant brilliances twisted violently in the sky, just like countless resplendent fireworks bursting in succession. Every battle in front of them was challenging and cruel, especially since neither side would possibly yield. The battle had to last until there would only remain one side left. The demon army had a natural advantage, regardless of whether it was in the sky or on the ground. Occupying at least 7/10 of the area, they filled the entire range of the southern city's mountain pass with their armies, blotting the sky and covering the earth with their troops. In the midst of such an atmosphere, everyone, including even the calm Long Houchin and Sima Xian, who had the most fighting intent, slowly became completely red in the eyes. Their terror was totally dispersed by the frantic killing intent that rushed forth. The losing of one's head and stirring up of one's blood needed a particular atmosphere, but in this very moment, the atmosphere in this place already reached this level. Forward! Long Houchen shouted. Taking the lead, he rushed forward in big strides, but as the captain, he still kept his rationality even at such times. Be careful to stay in formation, everyone. Currently, he could only come up with this much instructions. A human soldier's body was torn to shreds by a bloodthirsty berserk demon. In the midst of his blood and organs spreading everywhere, a little gap had appeared in the human's defensive line. 4 or 5 bloodthirsty berserk demons of the Nuba clan took advantage of this opportunity to charge in. Long Houchen's choice to cut into the battlefield coincided exactly with this moment, when their defense was just on the verge of destruction. In case the enemy broke through the formation, this could very possibly lead to an irreversible situation. Using his speed and putting his strength in his feet, Long Houchen launched a charge with big strides. Meanwhile, with an illumination of bright light, Yating appeared, floating above his shoulder. Golden halos rippled around Long Houchen's feet. An halo of faith, guardian's favor, an imposing halo immediately enveloped all the members of the 21st and the 22nd General Grade Demon Hunt Squad. Bloodthirsty berserk demons were among the demons who were most frantic during battles. Eyeing Long Houchen, who rushed at him, the one that had just lacerated the human soldier immediately howled, launching his sharp limbs at Long Houchen to welcome him. Bang. The glorious Holy Shield's supplementary ability, Holy Shield ability, was launched along with Long Houchen's shield's backlash. This newly obtained glorious tier equipment illuminated the entire surroundings. The bloodthirsty berserk demon's massive body was suddenly sent flying, knocking against a couple of other bloodthirsty berserk demons behind him. At this time, Blue Rain, hibiscus of light, carried a radiant gloss in Long Houchen's hand, enveloping those bloodthirsty berserk demons with the demon wiping flash. With an ear-piercing sound, demon wiping flash carried a formidable penetrative power inherited from ripples of light. Those bloodthirsty berserk demons were completely unable to dodge such a fast attack, and ended up as mere targets of the demon wiping flash. Soon, blood and other fluids erupted from their bodies. And don't forget, Long Houchen wasn't alone during this battle. Intersecting a golden red-colored instant blast cross-cut, the knight riding the rose unicorn from hell appeared, and Li Xin's pair of flaming swords filled with holy spiritual energy burst out on the battlefield. At the time Long Houchen passed on the ripples of light, Li Xin and Wang Yuan went through a lot of difficulties trying to learn it, but instead of giving up like Dian Yang and Han Daoxi, they stubbornly continued trying. In the end, the two insistent girls managed to learn this formidable supportive skill during Long Houchen's trip to the Moon Castle. And they would benefit from this ability created by Long Houchen throughout their lifetime. At this time, the instant blast cross-cut Li Xin launched was combined with the exploding effect of ripples of light. As the retribution knight she was, attack was everything to her. While the demon wiping flash instantly cut a bloodthirsty berserk demon in 4, ripples of light at least doubled Li Xin's offensive power. Moreover, she hadn't only broken through to the 5th step, but also taken the Holy Spirit pill, and her cultivation of internal spiritual energy already reached an amount of over 3,000. Compared to the time they completed the Desolate Hissing Caverns mission, she already underwent a qualitative leap in power. She wasn't the only one to erupt with explosive attacks, since Sima Xian had been unable to hold back since long ago. The moment Long Houchen sent this bloodthirsty berserk demon flying, his massive energetic ball of light was immediately released as well. With a glint of gaudy dark golden radiance shining in the sky, at the time it was launched, that massive golden ball blocked even Long Houchen's line of sight with its massive size. The following scene was just like the results of the launch of a bowling ball. Clashing against the remaining 4 bloodthirsty berserk demons with an exploding sound, it sent them flying in all directions. The bloodthirsty berserk demon, who was the closest, became the first target of the energetic ball of light. His body exploded into a minced state at once, not even leaving a corpse behind. The other bloodthirsty berserk demons didn't escape serious damage either, and were finally finished off in mid-air by Yi Jun's spatial magic spells. Sima Xian laughed with a pleased sound. Crushing some flesh with my metallic ball feels so good. In the Nuba clan, the ranking went as followed. The weakest were berserk demons, Then came the bloodthirsty berserk demons, and after them the scarlet-blooded berserk demons. While bloodthirsty berserk demons couldn't even compare to the strongest scarlet-blooded berserk demons, they still matched human warriors of the fifth step of cultivation. 4 or 5 bloodthirsty berserk demons thus formed, without a doubt, a very powerful offensive strength. Everyone in the 22nd General Grade Demon Hunt Squad was straightforward in their actions, doing everything they could to assist the 21st General Grade Demon Hunt Squad in their charge. Not trying to steal the merit, but giving their all-out support, and listening to Long Houchen's commands perfectly. Yang Wenjiao's and Duan Yi's teams spread out to both sides, also finding occasions to join the battle. The addition of the 2 Demon Hunt Squads immediately made the situation on this side of the battlefield take a turn for the better. Especially the powerful spells of the mags gave the defenders some time to reorganize their forces. However, the demon advance was extremely fierce. To say nothing of their vastly superior quantity of troops, they were almost only composed of middle and higher ranked demons. It went as far that not a single dual-bladed demon appeared. Even though the close-quarter battles, the long-range battles and the aerial battles were coordinated with each other, and everyone tried their hardest on each side, the human defense was still in immediate danger. Long Houchen naturally wouldn't disappoint his comrades. He launched the effects of the Saint Spiritual Stove and immediately attracted the aerial attack to him. An ear-splitting resonance rang, and Long Houchen was pushed half a step back, his body being covered in a golden flash. Seizing the opportunity, he struck out with Blue Rain, Hibiscus of Light in his right hand. Houchen launched an attack without holding back, immediately arousing his spiritual energy by the means of raise flowers into trees to launch an instant holy sword, along with shining sunlight strike, both carrying the power of ripples of light. 3 skills used as one would naturally not be aimed blindly. Through the opponent's offensive, Long Houchen could determine his strength. Stopping the enemy's strike, the defense of the glorious Holy Shield reinforced by the Holy Shield technique was narrowly broken, and Divine Obstruction didn't manage to completely get rid of its strength, causing even Long Houchen to be pushed back. 7th step. Which opponent below the 7th step could compel Long Houchen in such a way? The bloody silhouette slowly became visible, and its appearance was familiar to the 21st and 22nd General Grade Demon Hunt Squads. It was precisely the main enemy they faced on their way to the desolate hissing cavern, a fiend. And this fiend was visibly a fiend lord of the 7th step, just like the one that caused Kia to lose 4 of her senses. The fiend lord had a blood-colored heavy sword in his hand. The wings at his back controlled his balance, as he was directly stopped by Long Houchen's Divine Obstruction. Long Houchen was ready and Blue Rain, Hibiscus of Light, was already aiming at him. And it was not only Long Houchen who attacked. At his side, Li Xin's attack also approached. It was a shining sunlight strike carrying the brilliance of sunlight fire, as well as the power of ripples of light. Li Xin's large flaming sword was also out of the ordinary. Although it wasn't a piece of equipment at the glorious tier, it was still at the spiritual tier, and only purchased recently. With the boost in strength she got, after her spiritual energy went over 3,000, her speed when borrowing the help of the sunlight fire was at least twice as fast as that of an ordinary knight. The Fiend Lord unconsciously took a step back, waving the gigantic blood-colored sword in his hand. Long Houchen's attack was a step faster than Li Xin's, and he landed first. After evolving, the sharpness of Blue Rain, Hibiscus of Light, that carried holy swords supplemented with ripples of light manifested undoubtedly. In front of the dazzling shining sunlight strike, the Fiend Lord's gigantic blood-colored sword broke into pieces. Although Long Houchen drew back suddenly as well, unable to proceed with the offense, still Li Xin's shining sunlight strike managed to strike the Fiend Lord's body. The Fiend Lord screamed miserably, forcing Li Xin back with an intense red glint released from his body. But from the left side of his shoulder to his stomach appeared a deep cut, causing smoke to appear from the corroding effect the light element had on darkness elemental bodies like his. 3 spells were almost immediately launched on the Fiend Lord, but none of the lot were offensive spells. It was the Wind Elemental Wind Binding, the Fire Elemental Cage of Flames and the Light Elemental Light Binding. The 3 spells had one common goal, which was to suppress this Fiend Lord. At this time, the Fiend Lord chose to reinforce his defense, before an axe-like shield and an enormous golden ball clashed against him simultaneously with loud bangs. With the help of Elemental Body's boost, the Fiend Lord extended his 2 hands, expelling these two tyrannical weapons. Two stuffy sounds rang at the same time, from Wang Yuan and Sima Xian respectively, moving a few steps back. The bodies of the 7 members of the 21st General Grade Demon Hunt Squad glinted at the same time, as the soul-sharing shackles shared the damage received by the two of them. A blood-colored light scattering along with his fragmented flesh, his wrecked limbs and his thick black-colored blood scattering in all direction. After this last attack, the Fiend Lord's 2 hands were completely crushed, and right after losing his 2 arms, he reached the edge of death. A part of his head was also cut down, letting a block of his skull fall down, and his whole right shoulder was completely removed. With his skin and flesh removed, a great puff of his blood was spread in the air. It was naturally Long Houchen's 2-handed skill, Azura Strike, that needed to consume 1,000 spiritual energy, that produced such a terrifying attack. And this was after adding ripples of light to the attack. The 3 previous binding spells came from Hao Yue, perfectly coordinated with Long Houchen. Sima Xian and Wang Yuan's attacks were just an appetizer, whereas Long Houchen's Azura Strike was the true finishing blow. The appearance of the Fiend Lord caused even the calm Long Houchen to become totally red out of anger. It was as if he once again saw the criminal responsible for the loss of Kia's 4 senses. At the time this Azura Strike blow was launched, his entire body fused as a whole with his killing intent, producing the most powerful attack he had ever launched of his life. It was at such time that the importance of one's weapon could be seen. In terms of numbers of powerhouses, humans were far from demons' count, but how could they have contended so many years against demons, not only stopping them from completing their invasion, but gradually saving strength to launch a counterattack? This was because of the excellence of their offensive equipment. Humans had their magic cannons, the various methods used to make ancient weapons, and skilled craftsmen. And demons. Demons even had troubles to settle their problem of food, and even needed to go through war to reduce their total population. It could be said that over the past 6,000 years, the demons' force didn't rise too much as a whole, but humans progressed steadily. If the Fiend Lord was in his peak state, he could have stopped this attack by relying on his elemental body, but the latter was already destroyed because of Long Houchen's Azura Strike. So how could he display any leftover strength? The most shocking part was that the black figure that appeared to be hit by the Fiend Lord's punch immediately became solid, charging at the Fiend Lord's hand like a bolt of lightning. 2 shadows matched up in the air. At a closer distance, one would have seen the black ray suddenly turn into black dots piercing the Fiend Lord's head. Afterwards, his body immediately froze, falling down powerlessly, emptied of all vital energy and turning lifeless. That black figure fell on its tiptoes on the Fiend Lord's shoulder, trampling on his corpse and bouncing against it to return back to its feet. Long Houchen rapidly raised his left hand, that shone in a faint golden radiance. After having previously used fully the power of Azura Strike, he temporarily retrieved his glorious holy shield, and moved his sword from the right to the left hand. The shadow suddenly arrived on his right hand, and a little white hand came in contact with his right hand. Pulling it with a swing, Long Houchen immediately retrieved this shadow to his back, its pair of legs appearing once again on his waist. It was without a doubt Kia that gave the last blow to this Fiend Lord. Although she had lost 4 of her senses, it didn't mean that Kia had lost all fighting strength. Boss, let's rush in and kill the enemy. Suddenly lacking strong opponents, Sima Xian expressed a fierce unsatisfaction, his eyes gleaming with a bloodthirsty light. Long Houchen pondered for a bit, advanced 30 meters forward. Take a mobile formation. Giving this order, he once again summoned his brilliant holy shield, and lead his comrades forward. A distance of 30 meters was such that they could retreat at any time. The battlefield's situation underwent constant change, and the demons' offense was still fierce. Since they joined the battle, the burden on their allies eased up a little. After an advance of 30 meters forward, they were bound to be attacked from all sides. They would surely attract some of the demons' attacks, naturally reducing the pressure on the other fighters. The group of 13 was just like a sharp blade stabbing into the demons' formation on the wide street. Sima Xian was at Long Houchen's right flank. His energetic ball of light had become their most suitable offensive weapon. Its powerful offensive power and the crushing effects enabled it to open up a path for them, while lower-ranked demons were completely unable to stop them. Long Houchen also took this opportunity to release a spiritual gathering halo, helping his teammates to recover their spiritual energy. The group of 13 burst out with an explosive battle strength in the midst of the enemy ranks. At the back, Han Yu was very stable and steady. Relying on the bright reflection, as well as the bright discipline Long Houchen gave him to carry out both attack and defense at the same time, though he still put his energy mostly into the defense. The rear was also very stable, because it had Luke 11 as their backup. With him within their formation, they didn't need to worry about the problem of healing. In practice, Luke 11 currently only needed to use a few buffing spells. So far, there was no need for any healing. Long Houchen's group was immediately welcomed by a fierce demon counterattack. The death of the Fiend Lord had intimidated the demon armies greatly, but at the same time, their armies started to view Long Houchen's group as a dangerous opponent. Several powerhouses of the 6th and the 7th step headed in their direction, ready to face Long Houchen's group. After advancing for no more than 30 meters, Long Houchen immediately stopped. As the team's core, he had to pay attention to the global situation on the battlefield. Lifting up the brilliant holy sword in his hand and making use of the Saint's spiritual stove, he immediately attracted the most powerful enemies to him. Relying on his solid defense, he didn't give them any opportunity to threaten his teammates. Both the 21st and the 22nd General Grade Demon Hunt Squad had previously weathered out of the demon sieges during the mission of exploring the desolate hissing cavern, and thus attained a good level of coordination. More importantly, the only leader of their two teams was Long Houchen's, and all of his commands were immediately executed. Acting as a whole and letting the demons come at them, they fulfilled the order of only penetrating the enemy's ranks in a range of 30 meters. The greatest part of Long Houchen's attention was directed at this dual-headed devil eagle. Every time it launched an attack, he would immediately use the Saint's spiritual stove in order to make himself its target. This way, he was the target of one opponent of the 7th step, and 4 demon powerhouses of the 6th step. Even with Long Houchen's strength, he had some difficulties to resist those attacks. But under such enormous pressure, the strength Long Houchen displayed was especially spectacular. In the eyes of his teammates, he was just like an unwavering fort. None of the enemy's attacks could make him fall or retreat. The defensive power of the brilliant holy shield and the brilliant set was displayed to its fullest by Long Houchen. Occasionally, when the shield wouldn't make it in time to defend, he would use his own body to resist the enemy's attacks. Being defensive spells of the 6th step, the 2 additional abilities on his equipment were extremely effective. This enabled him to actually stand straight, not even falling back in the slightest. Long Houchen's speed of reaction had been trained in the Owl Ant's cave. Thus, even when the danger was very close, he still reacted reflexively, being surrounded by a golden glow. With very little movement, he was the one to sustain the opponent's most powerful attacks. In the rear, Han Yu's performance was remarkable. Using the bright reflection along with the bright discipline with great mastery. The addition of the 2 pieces of equipment at the glorious tier made him like a tiger that had grown wings. He was now even able to momentarily resist enemies at the 6th step. After all, he was a pure guardian knight. Except from the cultivation and the technical aspect, which he couldn't compare with, he wasn't much weaker than Long Houchen on other defensive aspects. The southern mountains city was very huge, and because of the demons' invasion, the battlefield encompassed the whole area. Long Houchen's position was in the central area of the city. Soon their allied forces would probably take attention of their activity. In this area, the strongest demons were all at the 7th step, but similarly, on the human side, the strongest powerhouses were also at most at the 7th step. Maybe powerhouses of the 8th step and above had discussed this in advance, but they didn't appear at this side of the battle. Of course, perspicacious people would know that for a powerhouse at the 8th step, the all-out battle that happened above ground was a lot more crucial. If one side gained the absolute superiority in the air, that would mean although the dual-headed devil eagle in the air was loathsome, it was in the end only a single enemy. If Long Houchen would be able to concentrate his attention completely on him, even if he couldn't beat him, he could at least guarantee that his teammates wouldn't suffer his attacks. But the most detestable enemies were the 3 distant 10-eyed demonic eye soldiers. Their offensive strength wasn't formidable, but when the 3 of them cooperated together, it was enough to surpass the defense of Long Houchen's holy shield ability. He would then need to make use of divine obstruction to block it, only barely diffusing it. They managed to pressure him to the extent that Long Houchen's response became more and more strenuous. Although Wang Yuan and Sima Xian had some ideas of rushing out to handle those enemies, they still refrained from taking action. If they really aimed at them with their current strength, even if they managed to wound the 3 demonic eye soldiers seriously, they would probably not make it back alive. This was the reason why Long Houchen gave everyone the order to stay in formation. As long as they kept their formation, they would be able to bear the high pressure inflicted by the demon forces. What should we do? Should we just renounce our past efforts? At this time, the pressure suddenly lessened, as in the air, 5 silhouettes rushed over like bolts of lightning. Without hesitation, they were aiming precisely at the location of those 3 demonic eye soldiers. Seeing this person, Long Houchen was completely shocked, because he surprisingly recognized this battle axe warrior, who precisely turned out to be the 5th brother that lost 100,000 contribution points against them. In the battlefield, the 5th brother's performance was especially intrepid. While frantically swinging a pair of battle axes and beheading the demons in front of him, he clearly made use of madness. Even the demons' attacks that reached his body were ineffective. With the suddenly reduced pressure, Long Houchen finally caught his breath, directing his gaze next in the direction of the 3 demonic eye soldiers. The 5 silhouettes that appeared out of nowhere were a group of fighters with wings of condensed spiritual energy at their backs. They were powerhouses of the 6th step, clearly profiting from their condensed spiritual energy. The 5 of them appeared suddenly, led by a man seated on the back of a huge 6-legged horse, a type of battle horse with a pair of wings on its back. It wasn't a unicorn, but a flying horse possessing 6 legs. It was one of the rarest types of mounts in the human world. Be it in the air or on the ground, it possessed a powerful fighting ability. The only pity was that it wasn't a magical beast of the holy attribute, but of the fire attribute. Otherwise, its utility would even surpass that of starlight unicorns. A knight clad entirely in radiant equipment was riding this horse. With a towering shield in his left hand and a heavy sword in his right hand, he was riding the 6-legged flying horse, striking at a demonic eye soldier in the next instant. An intense golden light suddenly spread from the center of his body, scattering around. Over a diameter of 30 meters, outside of those 3 demonic eye soldiers, all the other demons were totally affected from the previous demonstration, enabling his other 4 comrades to land with ease. The next performance of these 5 happened right after a glint of radiant light shone. In the blink of an eye, the 3 approaching demonic eye soldiers had already become corpses. Their strong offense improved the situation on Long Houchen's side enormously. The 8th General Grade Demon Hunt Squad was led by a formidable knight. It was exactly the same person who had previously apologized to Long Houchen for the trouble his teammates had caused. After getting rid of the 3 demonic eye soldiers, Zhong Fangfang turned around, giving a thumbs up in Long Houchen's direction. In response, Long Houchen raised the heavy sword in his hand against his own shoulder, performing a knight salute. Since they still stood on a battlefield, he didn't have time to say anything to Zhong Fangfang, but when their eyes met, they shared an understanding look. In an instant, golden light erupted along with a blue light, and in Long Houchen's hand, blue rain, hibiscus of light disappeared, launching its strongest attack, bright rain thrusting hibiscus. It aimed precisely at that very sly golden dual-bladed demon. Long Houchen had already charged this attack for a long time, and before launching it, his Saint Spiritual Stove's attraction ability instantly limited his opponent's movements. The combination of both attacks caused an increase of the scope of his Spiritual Stove. If used along with that powerful attack, to delay the distant golden dual-bladed demon's movements, it could be used with the highest efficiency. Next, a golden and blue dual-colored radiance appeared instantly in front of that sly enemy, carrying the same terrifying power as a very violent tide bursting forth. Bang! The golden dual-bladed demon's body was directly torn to shreds, but Long Houchen still didn't feel much at ease. Using bright rain, thrusting hibiscus came with an even greater consumption than Azura Strike, consuming a total of 1,500 units of internal energy. And this was already taking his status as the sign of light into consideration, which lessened his consumption whenever he used any light element ability. Han Yuqian was now taking over Long Houchen's role, with Lin Xin and Chen Yinga protected at his back. At this very moment, Hao Yue's body was illuminated in a dazzling splendor, making use of defensive magic to protect the 2 mags on his back. That enormous black dragon had without a doubt the real appearance of one of the demon god Emperor's guards, but of course, it was a fake. The little pig McDull, who had already watched passively for so long, now got the chance to make use of his strength. This was only an imitation without any offensive power, but the sudden appearance of a black dragon caused a terrible suppression on the side of the shocked demons. It was down to the extent that the dual-headed devil eagle was violently bombarded by Sima Xian's energetic ball of light, before he had the chance to react. At this time, Long Houchen had already returned. Although he had been blasted away, he managed to avoid any real wounds on other body parts than his arms by the means of his powerful defense, and the defensive reinforcement from the 2 spells of the 6th step. He even managed to recover his glorious holy shield on his way back. The light elemental fairy Yating's body suddenly lit up in a gaudy golden color, spreading to Long Houchen's back. It came from the launch of Radiant World, which temporarily transferred light essence to Long Houchen. Although this gave him a non-negligible burden, it let him recover the great amount of spiritual energy to launch this blow. The dual-headed devil eagle was severely wounded. Nevertheless, with a glint in his eyes, an enormous darkness and fire dual elemental bright mantle rushed forth from his body. But unfortunately, he was already unable to block Long Houchen at that time. Azura Strike. Ripples of light caused Azura Strike's originally terrifying power to become even more unreasonable, and in the midst of flames and darkness, blue rain, hibiscus of light pierced through the dual-headed devil eagle's body, easily cutting his body in two. When the dual-headed devil eagle fell on the ground, losing his flying ability, he was already doomed to death. Luke Shi's group of 6 opened their eyes wide. When Long Houchen's group of 7 burst out with explosive power, the 22nd General Grade Demon Hunt Squad was already out of contention, but they didn't even fully understood what happened, just seeing a dual-headed devil eagle die so easily. Seeing that enormous black dragon head towards the demons, the various races of demons felt confused at his oppression towards demons. Of course, they were unable to understand why a personal guard of His Majesty Demon God Emperor would attack them. For a moment, those middle-ranked demons lost all desire for battle. Morale was the most important aspect on the battlefield. In case a side suffered a morale blow, it could very possibly cause them to suffer a crushing defeat. Seeing the decline of morale among the demon forces, the Southern Mountains City immediately commanded its soldiers to launch a counterattack. Those soldiers were part of an injured army, but they were all veterans. Having survived so far, they could be called the top of the elite of the Southern Mountain Pass Army. They understood that their survival was bound to this battle. Even if it took them everything they had, they were willing to fight to the end. So, they clenched their teeth and charged at the enemy. The troops weren't in too bad a state, having just received their reinforcements. They had powerful support, led by dozens of demon hunt squads, as well as the reinforcement army of 5,000 Alliance fighters. The Temple Alliance brazenly walked on the streets, launching the counterattack against the demons. Since the Temple Alliance dispatched troops when the Southern Mountains City entered a state of emergency, they had certain grasp of the situation. Aside from the Knight Temple that dispatched their strongest Temple Knight regiment, the other 5 great temples dispatched a lot of elites of the 5th step or above. And although this army could not compare to the strength of the demon hunt squads, the combat power they displayed on the battlefield was still terrifying. With both sides at the 5th step, a single human by himself could handle 3 or 4 demons. This was due to their difference of equipment. Even an ordinary armor gave them a much better protection than the demons. And don't forget that they were an army, and every army had its discipline, needing to coordinate with and assist each other. Although the demon armies were powerful, they were composed of many races. They didn't always move in groups that optimized their power and mostly relied on their superior numbers to defeat the opponent. Therefore, the counterattack was orchestrated successfully in the Southern Mountains City. However, Long Houchen leading the 2 demon hunt squads, moved forward at a slower speed, and didn't directly participate in the battle yet. Starting from the first step he took on the battlefield, Long Houchen's eternal melody started to burn, just like an insatiable beast, engulfing all the soul energy invisible to the other people's eyes from the battlefield. Long Houchen's mental strength was far stronger than that of ordinary people, but thousands of drops of soul energy were coming over to his side, giving him a really unpleasant feeling. Moreover, along with the absorption of the soul energy, the pendant of eternal melody kept giving off a scorching feeling, and the burning pain had always affected him. If not for Long Houchen's astonishing willpower, he surely couldn't possibly have persevered for so long. He could feel that this soul energy would rapidly disappear after entering eternal melody, but the burning feeling it gave off kept increasing. And he could also feel that the eternal melody wasn't omnipotent either. It was only able to absorb soul energy in a diameter, a radius of 200 meters, and past this distance, it couldn't absorb. Thus, he slowed his pace to let the eternal melody's absorption speed slow down, trying to digest the absorbed souls as quickly as possible. Otherwise, this burning sensation would make him feel as though his chest was about to explode. How could he fight in this state? However, this burning sensation was not completely devoid of advantages. In the burning heat, Long Houchen clearly felt that his liquid spiritual energy was rotating around the Saint spiritual stove at an increased speed, producing a constant compression of spiritual energy. And although eternal melody gave him a burning sensation on the chest, it also made him feel as if he was going to grasp a new insight. However, this wasn't a situation where he could sit down and cultivate. Otherwise, considering his power of understanding, how couldn't he know that gaining this insight would be of great benefit to him? The Eternal Melody's burning sensation cooled down because of Long Houchen's slowed pace. Finally loosening his breath, he felt really unwilling to let the Eternal Melody go on absorbing the soul's energy. This Tower of Eternity seemed to have some benefits, but due to the fact that it was passed down from a necromancer, he never had a good opinion of it. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.